Hello. So, hope I will make you have cheer like this great opening. Thank you everyone for being here. So, this is Görkem from Google Turkey. I am working as industry manager in gaming and startup scene in Google Turkey. I am basically working with most of the mobile gaming developing companies in Turkey and then some of them around the region. So, thank you for being here and listening to session today. Let me see. Yes. So, I am sure that you have seen these kind of, let's say, stock image slides or stereotype slides like gaming is changing a lot of times. Actually, there have been this word in gaming is changing since 1980s, but like a real change is also happening nowadays as well. Like it is inevitable in the gaming businesses that it's changing, it has changed and it will continue to change. And I will today try to, let's say, deliver you our lens in how it's changing in the near, let's say, past and in the near future. So, here's data from Newzoo. This is just saying that the market size for mobile gaming, we all know that the, let's say, recent growths are a bit receiving headwinds in the market. And you can see that mobile is actually having a bit harder time than PC and console according to the real data in the 2022. So what changed exactly? So why do we see this, let's say, by the way, it was in-app purchases revenue mostly and some of the ads, but like what changed exactly? So what is the reason for this, let's say, recent decline? Actually, like a few of the factors have happened at the same time. So which are, the first one, the obvious one is the post-COVID. So you remember from the COVID times, especially multi-screening, like even if you're watching TV or if you are laying down in the home or if you are playing with your computers, you can just play real-time games, and since you can't go out, you are just playing games in the home. So it was the obvious. So we see a front-loaded growth thanks to COVID, and since the COVID is gone, the trajectory is back in the normal. The second, the competition for media consumption is intensifying. So when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to consumption, personal leisure consumption, it is not only gaming, as you know, Flo. There are several different type of media and entertainment leisure consumption mediums, and the competition for entire gaming versus those mediums are also intensifying in the near past. The third, the economic challenges. It's in the all newspapers, not only for, of course, Turkey, but also for US and all the economies. The inflation rates are higher, personal, let's say, pockets are a bit lower for the personal entertainment budgets and so on. That's the third factor. The fourth, structural shifts in privacy shaped gaming economy. So I will not recall the name for this, but you have just heard it a lot of times, the IDFA, post-ATT, etc., and a similar, let's say, structure will be, let's say, introduced by Google as well. So, fifth, geopolitical environment. So, there are lots of happenings in the East, in the West, and also people tend to shift more to the personal savings as well. And these all happened at the same time, which happened to the decrease in the mobile economy. So I will go one by one, give a bit of color for each of them. The first one, increased competition for screen time, as I have shown you. You can see that mobile, social media, music streaming, and video streaming, the screen time growth versus the year ago. So you can see that the music streaming, the video streaming, and also in general the mobile gaming apps, they all are growing in the screen time. In the past, the gaming were way leading the path in there. Purchase behavior is also leaning towards non-gaming activities. You can see in this slide the mix between the gaming IAP revenue and non-gaming IAP revenue. Like you can see the clear shift between Q1 2020 and the Q4 2022. The shift is towards the non-gaming. You can ask that, maybe it's because the non-gaming is growing more. Yeah, but in the absolute terms, we have already seen that the mobile gaming is having a bit of headwinds. inflation store from the games. In the left-hand side, you can see the correlation for the data that I have showed you in the past slide, the former slide, and the inflation rates in the world. So when I see this slide, I was really surprised. Like, I didn't know that it was like this correlated, the inflation rate and the gaming IAP share. We can again be suspicious about maybe it's just causality, but in the right-hand side, you can see that there is also absolute decline, which is super correlated to the inflation. It is not, by the way, super surprise. So when there's inflation, when there's purchasing power decrease, it first reflects to the leisure spending for sure. So on top of economic and behavioral challenges, also privacy-first approach, as we have seen. So IDFA, we have talked about. You can see that iOS download share has a bit, let's say, declined after this happening. And we also know that, I didn't put it in the slide, but when you divide the IAP revenue between iOS and the Android, we know that iOS has a, let's say, a larger pie based on the Appenna and Newzoo data. So that is why it is also becoming another headwind in the mobile gaming economy. As a result, we ended up with inefficiencies. So this is average revenue per monthly active user. It's just a proxy, let's say, for short-term LTV. Of course, like it's not the same thing with the revenue per download or LTV, but it's just a reflection. You can again see the clear trend from January 21 to the January 23. I just wanted to put the geographical breakdown as well, because the geographical, let's say, mix change might also create this overall global, let's say, average revenue per monthly active user decline. But when you see in the geographical level, after the, let's say, privacy landscape change, this decrease is also happening at the same time as well. So competition is getting intense, and not only from the immediate industry of mobile gaming or, let's say, direct gaming. You can see in the right-hand side that Netflix games has grown 50%. So indirect leisure activity competitors will be there and will continue to be there. It's harder for new games to hit top charts and monetize. So you can see the share of new games in the top 100, let's say, grossing. And you can see the revenue share of these games according to Data AI, Appenna data. We see that it's just 1 or 2% for the new games since 2019. Yes, I was very pessimistic, I know that. But I just wanted to show you that, like, from the different lenses, is that, like, it's not going to be super easy for mobile gaming. But like on the bright side, what we have. So I will just show you the bright sides for now. So for the left-hand side, the data, number of mobile gamers has reached to the record level in 2022. So in 2022, number of people who play games at its maximum level. So in the middle, you can see the number of game downloads, installs. Also, remember, the revenue, it was declining, but when you look at the adoption, user adoption, when you look at the install, it's not declining, it is growing. So it is good that we are taking new users, new gamers, let's say, to the pie. I believe the best one is the right-hand side, or the most promising one. This is just showing you how much of people who has smartphone are gamers, are playing games. When I call gamer, of course, it's just also, it involves all the casual gamers and so on. So you can see that, for instance, in the North America, it's just 56% of the people are playing games. Like, imagine how big the US gaming economy, just 56% of the people are currently playing games. So we have 44% more to, let's say, catch and grab. And we know that since the Generation Z, or the, let's say, younger demography, this number is higher. So which means that by time, this 56% will grow higher for the entire US, which is good. New gamers are coming. So we see that there are challenges, but we see that there is a huge potential as well. So there isn't any, let's say, structural or unbeatable, let's say, unpromising problems. There is potential as well. So I will just try to talk you about our opinion, how to pivot your business strategy to become resilient against all these challenges I have listed. Three of them. First, genre diversification. Second, I will talk about the power of the brand and its relevancy in the future. And the third one is diversification in the revenue model and in the monetization. So genre diversification. So I have put it, like we have put the genre names in here and also, let's say, icons for the top games. So there are top gainers and top losers. So what I try to, let's say in this slide is that you have to keep your eyes on the charts, on the market continuously. So like the trend in the past does not reflect the trend in the future as well. So the trends are continuously changing. That's why for a mobile gaming publisher or for a mobile gaming developer, you have to pivot which genre you're going to build in your game. It has to change with the potential or the trend in the market as well. It's the same for core games as well. I have shown it for casual, and this slide is for core. So you can be an innovator, you can be a pioneer, you can make an innovation in a game mechanic. There is a word about the, I believe it was from the ex-Zynga CEO, if I don't misremember it, but like you can innovate, let's say the mechanic, but it should be 80% proven, it should be 20% innovation, according to the, let's say, them, but still, most of these games have some, let's say, innovation factor, or we see that there are the early followers, like take the Survivor.io for an example. So Survivor.io was the first one in the mobile market to, let's say, also gained, let's say, traction in the top downloads and, let's say, top charts. So keeping your eye on the market is equally important to continue to try to innovate your product pipeline. Power of the brand. So, brand is too powerful to ignore, as we all know from the desktop gaming for years. So, like League of Legends, Genshin Impact, most of other big brands are also making, let's say, collaborations, like based on the gaming brand, let's say, investments. I know it's tricky for an early stage studio, and I know it's super, let's say, capital intensive to build your game, especially if you're an early stage studio. But there are other ways, let's say, to stay in the top of mind and also, let's say, try to acquire users, let's say, as an alternative to general paid user acquisition. In the left-hand side, you can see the Google search queries indexed about casual gaming. So in US, like each casual, let's say, gamer makes 3 searches. So like it's really a powerful, let's say, statistics. You can see that users are not only in the games showing the video ads, but they are also in the different mediums. So like Twitch and YouTube, you all know that lots of gaming influencers, content creators are also funneling game recommendations and so on to the developers. And in the right-hand side, you can see the volume in the branding ads, and we see a huge increase trend in the 2022 versus the years ago, and we believe that this trend will continue. So, again, I have already said that it's tricky for an early stage studio, so it will probably take millions of dollars to build your own brand while creating to that efficient point, but it's not the only way. Creating your own brand by your own, let's say, branding investment is not the only way to, let's say, utilize the power of branding and the strong brands. So IP, intellectual property. You know, there are lots of different intellectual properties who are seeking for, let's say, partnerships with the games and early stage studios, of course, who has proven engagement and monetization metrics that they can work with. So I think this will be more important in the future. It's basically that we are saying, with especially the changes in the user acquisition side coming with the ATT, I think the game developer studios will need to do more in the, let's say, IPM side and the mass reach side, and the relevancy, the brands, something familiar to the mass audience that they know during the ad creative, like IP, will be much more important, in our opinion, in the future in the marketing side. You can see that this is a slide about asking the reason, like what are the factors you, let's say, consider while downloading a game. You can see that, you know, the games like from the same franchise or an IP, it's not only going to the non-spenders, but also it's relevant to the big spenders as well, and it's also creating incrementality in their acquisitions as well. But like in IPs, it's not just take an IP and throw to your game. You should also be very careful if the IP you choose or if the IP you're going to collaborate will match with the audience strategy you have in your game. So it is really a, let's say, surprising example that we want to put in here. So in the left-hand side, you can see the Star Wars series demographics and Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes games demographics. You can see that there's a super match. So when this game just thought about using Star Wars as an IP, they have built the game accordingly, and we have seen that the audience is, let's say, super matched. But when we see the example in the right-hand side, Stranger Things series, the series and the Stranger Things game, you can see that the IP for the series is like super different from the IP for the game. Still, of course, it can help. All of the games have, let's say, a mix of different audiences, but it doesn't help as much as it helps to the audience which overlaps with the IP. So IP is not just something, if it's famous, I put it to my game, and it helps me with the UA. It might not with the overall ROAS, when you look at the overall ROAS. So our audience should match as well for the best engagement and monetization. So revenue model diversification. We need to diversify monetization model. You can see in here the in-app ads and in-app purchase mixture for the different genres. So it would be nice if I have put the trend versus, let's say, 2020 or 2020 as well to this slide. We see an increase in the, let's say, more hybridization of the revenue models. But like there is still way to go for most of the genres you see here. Again, after post-ATT, we know that, you know, there is a huge shift in the CPMs, in the iOS side, and for the 100% ad-funded genres like hyper-casual, the times are more challenging because of the CPM decline. And for the IAP part, it's also targeting because of the, since they're going to have 5 or 10% payer conversion super target. So that's why the pie should be grower right now. The pie should be bigger to have both in-app ads revenue and in-app purchase revenue. How to do that? It's the magic sauce. It's like this session is, I believe, too short to say that, and I am not the super expert to say that. But like it should be real. The examples we see who are, let's say, successful are the ones who achieved to place these ads natively to their games, or in the monetization loop, the ones who has achieved to put it without disrupting the overall game loop. So you can see in the left-hand side, you can see the completion rates for the rewarded ads. So it's really high. So it doesn't mean that your user will like churn, etc. And it doesn't have to be also based on the seasonality, it doesn't have to be a gaming ad as well that you are showing to your game. So it's a valid concern for 100% IAP monetized games if it's gonna, let's say, cannibalize my payers, if it's gonna cause churns, or what about the long-term prediction model multipliers, etc. But still, there are ways to place it incremental to overall LTV if it's done rightly. And of course, based on the monetization strategy, you will tailor your user acquisition strategy, your optimization events, etc. And believe me, it will help you in the CPI side as well. It's a ROAS game at the end of the game, at the end of the day. All in all, no recession or doom time lasts forever. We all know that. I am not the economics or financial expert, but if you check all the sources, it will like the timing estimation for recession to pass is changing between the, let's say, sources by 6 months, a year, etc. But it will not last forever. The media consumption or the leisure consumption will come back. The post-COVID, let's say, slow down. When you look at the long-term trajectory, again, the growth is just front-loaded to a year ago or 2 years ago, when you look at the long-term compounded annual growth rate, still mobile gaming is growing. And according to the, let's say, Newzoo prediction, it will continue growth. It will continue to grow. So the future is bright, but I think we should tailor our business model, or we should tailor our approach to stay relevant, which are like build your brand, but if not building your brand, like let's say, don't ignore the power of the awareness or top of mind awareness while acquiring users somehow by an, again, IP collaboration or another business strategy. The second one, adapt your business model to a world with increased privacy. They are not going anywhere. They will stay. ATT is there, privacy sandbox is there. We don't know the specifics, of course, yet, but like the privacy-centric, first-party data, sensitive future is there. So we should adapt our overall game and UA strategy accordingly. And the third one is diversify. Diversify to leverage the high potential of subgenres, high potential of monetization models, and so on. It is much more relevant to diversify the business approach versus sticking to one genre for the future, in our opinion. Thank you for listening. Thank you.